and what's going on another Saturday night live edition. Not to take away from SNL. Of course, my name's Jose Ramos Jr. You're back here on another live stream here, joining us again on a Saturday night. Something chill, something fun, something simple. You know, these last couple of streams, we've had a lot of great discussions, whether it's been in regards to what's going on with the Royal Rumble. Obviously, the road to WrestleMania is upon us. So what better way than to kick off this road to WrestleMania than to highlight Jey Uso, who's won the Royal Rumble. Of course, he has earned that opportunity to get a championship match of his choice against the likes of either Gunther or Cody Rhodes. So today I wanted to do a live tier ranking of some of the best WrestleMania main eventers of all time. Give us a moment here to have people join us in the chat. I'm hoping everyone is having a wonderful Saturday, having a great weekend ahead of them. Hopefully they enjoy their Saturday as well. We want to thank you guys for choosing to spend your time here with us. Of course, another edition of J Area Live. For those who are new to the stream, new to the channel itself, it's a pro wrestling channel for pro wrestling fans by a pro wrestling fan. Something cool, something relaxed, something different a little bit today. On occasion, I like to do my little tier rankings, have the opportunity to share my opinions with all of you. And of course, in the chat, feel more than welcome to voice your guys' opinions. I see we already have Sylvia in the chat. Shout out to Sylvia. Long time no see. How are you guys doing? I'm doing well. Hope you're doing the same. Hope you're doing just as well. Peter Parker. You can't really tell because it's a smaller screen, but I got my Spider-Man hat on. Says, hope everyone had a good Saturday and a better Super Bowl Sunday. Well, we'll see, right? We'll have to wait and see. The Super Bowl, of course, this Sunday, tomorrow, as of right now, as of this recording. Place your bets. I mean, me personally, I'm not really a fan of either team, being that I'm a San Francisco fan, so you know we have our beef with both the Chiefs and the Eagles. But if I had to make a prediction, I'm thinking the Chiefs win. As much as I don't like the Chiefs, unfortunately, I could definitely see them winning and going for 3. Not necessarily what I want, but it's just what we're used to, what we're accustomed to seeing. Unfortunately, they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to be considered one of the greatest dynasties of all time. Pat Mahomes is going to be considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, even though I don't think he's there quite yet. Probably will have, a little bit of a say the more his career goes on, but I don't know. You got the chat here going. AJ in the chat here says, I think Vladimir Kozlov is S tier. That's a wild take. Also says the Chiefs lose to the refs. Nah, dude. You know they're in cahoots. They're going to win. I don't want to see it, but it's going to happen. That's what I'm afraid of. But let's jump right into it. We have a several list of WWE legends and Hall of Famers that have main evented WrestleMania. Of course, it's the show of shows. It's the Super Bowl of pro wrestling, really. I mean, it's been the granddaddy of them all. The biggest show of the year. The show that everyone wants to be on. The big payday. Some of the biggest stars in the company in pro wrestling history. Guys like Hogan, Reigns, Stone Cold, John Cena, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. So many people that have main evented WrestleMania, having all-time classics, legacy-defining moments, have had their moments here at WrestleMania. So we're going to go ahead and start it off here with the very first individual on this list, AJ Styles. AJ said, oh, hey, speaking of AJ in the chat says, Chris Jericho versus Edge. What do you think? But I was there in attendance for that matchup at WrestleMania 26. I enjoyed the matchup. I think it gets overshadowed because of the Cena-Batista matchup. Obviously, Taker and Shawn was the main event of that WrestleMania. So Edge and Jericho don't fall onto this list. They won't fall into this list because it wasn't the main event, but I did enjoy the matchup. I'm a fan of Edge. I'm a fan of Jericho. At least then I was. Nowadays, I think he needs to take a break. But regardless, hey, I'm a fan of both. But with AJ Styles. Now, I want to preface this list first of all, because obviously we see our tier list. We have D, we have C, B, A, and S. I want to make sure that we're all in agreement here. This is how I'm going to approach it. I'm looking at the totality of their careers in the sense of those main event matches. I'm not going to consider their matches that weren't main eventers. I'm going to only consider the matches they were main eventing WrestleMania. So, for example, AJ Styles has only main evented one WrestleMania. That was WrestleMania 36. He was in the Boneyard match against The Undertaker. With that being said, D, meaning, hey, you main evented WrestleMania. Good for you. I'm happy for you. That's about it. C, I'm going to say, hey, they were an average performer, at least average appearances in the main event of WrestleMania. Nothing terrible. But then again, nothing spectacular. B, meaning, hey, they're a solid performer. They're a good hand. Their main event match is delivered. A, you're at the cream of the crop. You're at the top of the list. You are one of those bona fide WrestleMania main eventers that are consistently putting on great matches regardless of the opponent. And then S tier, we're talking GOAT status. We're talking the best matches in WrestleMania history, consistently having the greatest performances. That's the way I'm approaching it. If you guys agree with some of my listings, and if you don't, hey, go ahead in the chat and voice your opinions below as well. It just says, I think he needs to do stand-up more than wrestling. Chris Jericho's a good storyteller. I'll give him that. I mean, he has a podcast. He's multiple time, author of his books. I just think the best thing for him is probably to step away from wrestling for a second. I've said in the past, have a little vacation, enjoy some time off with the family, regroup, rejuvenate, and then you can always come back. That's my opinion. So starting with AJ Styles here. AJ Styles, like I said, WrestleMania 36, fought The Undertaker in what was the more innovative matches of that era. It was the Thunderdome era. It was those cinematic matches where the WWE didn't have anyone in attendance. They didn't have anyone in the audience. So they had these like mini movies. We had, of course, the Firefly Funhouse match. We had the Undertaker's Boneyard matchup, among other matches, but specifically for WrestleMania. I thoroughly enjoyed this matchup. I think it was a great way to send out The Undertaker. It was a great matchup for him. I look at the way that he is able to consistently put on great matches. I don't agree with you, Vladimir Kozlov take, but I digress. It's okay to disagree. We can agree to disagree. Most of all because Kozlov never main evented WrestleMania. I do want to preface that. This is a main eventing WrestleMania tier list. So unfortunately, he does not even qualify. Unfortunately. For the purpose of this, though, love AJ. He only has one main event to his name. I thought it was a solid bout. Something I can go back and rewatch. I'm going to put AJ at B. I know. It might be a little bit much. It's the only time he's ever main evented WrestleMania, but for me, it stole the show. That, along with, the Firefly Funhouse, stole the show at WrestleMania. But I put that at a B. I really enjoyed AJ Styles' matchup there. I think that he, along with The Undertaker, delivered. Next up, we have Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant had only main evented one WrestleMania as well. WrestleMania 3. Hulk Hogan. Pontiac, Michigan, the Silver Dome. It's what really set the precedent for what WrestleMania would be. It is the show of shows, the showcase of the immortals. Say what you want about, Hulk Hogan and the presentation of WrestleMania back then. But you can't deny this matchup was huge for the business, was huge for WrestleMania. I don't think we have WrestleMania the way we see it as of right now without this matchup. I really don't. Was it a great matchup? That's someone, for you to determine. But I think for the moment, I can't put it any lower than D. It's not going to be in D. I don't think it's a great matchup. I think it's really just a one-moment show. With that being said, I'll put Andre at C. Again, nothing but love and respect for Andre. But I just don't think so. I have to put him at C. It was the one moment. If it wasn't for that slam, I don't think we'd be talking about it. Shout out to Big Neff Network. Salute to you, my friend. Glad to see you here on a stream on a Saturday night. We're talking main eventers, WrestleMania, listing them. Just to recap here. D meaning, hey, congratulations. You main evented WrestleMania. C meaning, hey, it was a good show. It was a good matchup. I would say it's about an average match. B, you delivered. You delivered a good matchup for WrestleMania, a great main event. A, meaning you're the cream of the crop, meaning you are one of the best of all time to main event WrestleMania, consistently having great matches. And of course, S tier being, hey, it's huge, being you're one of the greatest of all time. AJ says, but Big Show's WrestleMania moments is mid. We're talking about Andre the Giant. That was Andre the Giant, my friend. Moving on to the next one here. It's rather small here on the screen. You might catch me taking a peek. But I believe we have Bam Bam Bigelow. AJ says, oops. It happens. It happens. You know, I can see the resemblance for sure. Next up, we have Bam Bam Bigelow. Had to double check. I got prescription glasses. You know the eye vision's not the best. See? AJ's with me. You already know the glasses. So Bam Bam Bigelow had a main event matchup against Lawrence Taylor, legendary linebacker and defensive player for the New York Football Giants. One of the greatest to ever do it in the NFL, but unfortunately this matchup for me didn't live up to the hype. This was a glorified celebrity matchup. It's the reason why it main evented. You had Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow. The real main event would have been Diesel versus Shawn for the WWE title. For me, it's a better matchup than this one. Nothing against Bam Bam. A legend in his own right, but it's a forgettable main event. I know they had LT in participation for that main event, but I cannot put it anything above D. It is what it is. Now we're looking at Batista. Batista, surprisingly, only with 2 WrestleMania main events to his name. WrestleMania 21, he fought Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship. WrestleMania 30, he was in the triple threat match with Bryan Danielson and Randy Orton. I'm a fan of Batista. Don't get me wrong. Ruthless Aggression era Batista was on another level. But I look at Batista's matches here at WrestleMania. The WrestleMania 30, the triple threat match, all-timer. A great triple threat match. A great moment for Bryan. And an unselfish moment for Batista. But you look at WrestleMania 21, the story was phenomenal. Feud of the year was Batista versus Triple H. The matchup itself, kind of average. Some people thought it went a little bit too long. I'm of the mindset where I enjoyed it, but I think they could have shaved off a little bit on that timing. I will never disparage the feud because I love Triple H versus Batista. But between those 2 main events, WrestleMania 30 does a lot of the heavy lifting. AJ says, is every Rumble winner the main event? Because if so, I thought Batista won more. Well, Batista won 2 Royal Rumbles, 2005 and 2014. And those were the 2 times he main evented WrestleMania. WrestleMania 21 and WrestleMania 30. The winner of the Royal Rumble has a guaranteed opportunity to face a champion of their choosing at WrestleMania. They try to advertise it as a main event matchup, but that's not always the case. Just because you win the Rumble doesn't guarantee you a main event spot. It guarantees you a title matchup. Look at guys like Del Rio, Sheamus. You know, they won the Royal Rumble. They didn't main event WrestleMania. You know? Not a guarantee spot. Even for the women. If a woman won a Royal Rumble, that doesn't mean she's main eventing WrestleMania either. It's only happened once. Rather, twice. Excuse me. It's happened twice. WrestleMania 35 and WrestleMania 37. But for Dave Batista, I'm going to put him at C. I can't put him over AJ. I can't put him over AJ. I know AJ only had 1. But for me, Dave Batista, WrestleMania 21 kind of brings him down a little bit. WrestleMania 30 was fun, but I can't put it over AJ, unfortunately. That's just not, I can't. Speaking of WrestleMania 35, we talked about one of the women main eventing. Becky Lynch, the man. The rise of Becky Lynch was tremendous. It was a great opportunity for the women in pro wrestling. Thank you for not putting him over me anytime. I love Batista, but I mean AJ. Come on. So Becky Lynch has the rise of her career in 2018, leading into 2019. She wins the Rumble. Fun fact, I was in attendance for that. She gets to challenge Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey in the main event of WrestleMania. The first time ever a women's main event at WrestleMania. The matchup was good. The finish is a little bit questionable because it wasn't as clean. You know, Ronda Rousey's shoulder was kind of up there. It wasn't a clean finish. It left open, you know, the possibility of a rematch. We never got it, but it left it open. Becky Lynch, for me, one of the best to come out of NXT. One of the best women's wrestlers that the WWE has highlighted. But again, given the matchup, the hype, the anticipation, the star power, I'm going to put her at B. It's a legendary performance. It's certainly one that will live on forever, I think. That's just my personal preference. Yeah, in the middle needed a table spot. There you go. Moving on. Our next one here. We got a big one. Bianca Belair. You have to forgive me here. The screen's kind of small on my end. But Bianca Belair, a part of the second match to ever main event WrestleMania. Another huge deal. Bianca Belair and Mercedes Moné, then known as Sasha Banks, delivered what I thought was the match of the night for that first ever, you know, 2-night WrestleMania extravaganza, whatever you want to call it. Bianca Belair only has the one to her name. And it's difficult for me to put her on this list because it was very early in her career. We know this. It would be easier if she had more. Because I'm conflicted here when it comes to Bianca. Do I put her at B? Because I think her matchup I prefer over Becky's. But it's only one. I'm going to put, in terms of I'm going to put off of the performance. I have her at B. And what I like about this list so far is everyone has had one main event of WrestleMania, with the exception of Dave Bautista. He had 2. So we're still at an even playing field here. Next up, we have the Big Show. AJ, shout out to AJ. We have the Big Show now. Big Show has only main evented WrestleMania once, WrestleMania 2000. Aside from that, he's never had a main event of WrestleMania. He's been in championship matches. Huge championship matches. But never the main event of WrestleMania, of course, with the exception of WrestleMania 2000. I look at the Big Show. And in that matchup, it should have never had him. Now I know, of course, the story had The Rock versus Triple H in mind. But The Rock's foot hit the ground, putting in place for the Big Show to get a match at WrestleMania. But they could have resolved that. The matchup should have been The Rock versus Triple H one-on-one. But they had to go Fatal 4-Way. And the Big Show was eliminated early on. So with that, he was eliminated early on, wasn't a big participant in this Fatal 4-Way, didn't have a memorable spot, in my opinion, didn't even need to be there, quite frankly. I put him at D. Sorry, Big Show. That's right, coming from WCW. Bret the Hitman Hart. One of the greatest to ever do it. Main evented WrestleMania 9. Faced off against Yoko. Main evented WrestleMania 10. Faced off Yoko. Main evented WrestleMania 12. Shawn Michaels. Those are his. That's his accolades. And again, we're only limiting this to their performances in the main event. Because he had great matches against Austin. He had a great match against Bob Backlund. Not to mention the Hart Foundation years. But it limits it to the 3. Yokozuna, the back-to-back feature. And the Iron Man match. We know about the rise of Bret Hart. We knew about his excellence of execution, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Having great moments against the likes of Yoko and Sean, two of my guys. Speaking of my guys, Dion, what's going on in the chat? Appreciate you, of course, stopping by on a Saturday. We're talking WrestleMania main eventers. I apologize for the camera here, folks. It's a little bit laggy on my end. San Fran 5 has let me know, but I see it. Unfortunately, hey, that's why I was a little bit late on the stream. But we're talking about Bret the Hitman Hart as I multitask. It's difficult because I am a big fan of Bret Hart. Always have been a big fan of Bret Hart. But I look at his performances here. Bret needs to sharp up to S. Oh, I see what you're saying. He's okay. But here's the thing when it comes to Bret. Bret, in terms of his match quality, is like one of the greatest of all time. I'm not disputing that. But his match against Yoko, I think, is forgettable. We remember WrestleMania 10. His matchup against Shawn Michaels is legendary. I don't know if I can put him at S. I'm very comfortable putting him at A. Very comfortable putting him at A. I don't know if I can put him at S. And he is one of the greatest of all time. We're going to work with me here. We're going to go a little bit blind here for a second. You're still going to hear me, but I'm working on the camera in order to fix that. AJ says, yeah, I see that with Yoko. I mean, there's nothing against Yoko. Love Yoko. But it's just like that matchup with Shawn can't do all the heavy lifting. It's the same reason why I couldn't put Batista over C. Next up is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, the Beast incarnate. Having main evented several WrestleManias. Main evented WrestleMania 19 against Kurt Angle. Main evented WrestleMania 31 with Roman Reigns. Main evented 34 with Reigns. Then he main evented 38 with Reigns. I look at the totality of that feud. WrestleMania 31, good match. Enjoyed it. WrestleMania 19, one of the best matches of Kurt Angle in Brock's career. Big fan of it. WrestleMania 34, I can live without it. WrestleMania 38, I think it's forgettable. Yes, it's when Roman Reigns was able to unify the titles. But I can live without it, truthfully. With that being said, with Brock, he's not D, and he's not C. I think it's bare minimum B. For me personally, because he had two solid matchups at 31 and at 19. But I look at what happened at 30. San Fran 5 in the chat. Say his name and he appears. Appreciate you, of course. Stopping by in the chat. We're talking about the main eventers of WrestleMania. We've gone black for a little bit here. Trying to work on the quality of the camera. I'm going to bring it back up here. But Brock Lesnar, I'm going to put at B. I feel very comfortable in putting him at that spot. Because I feel like there's still better names out there that would work over him at least. Next up on the list, after Brock Lesnar, of course, Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair to me, very much so, in the same vein. Don't know why it moved down. Very much so in the same vein of Becky Lynch, because it's the same matchup. It's the same matchup. So how am I not going to put her in the same spot? Dion says C. I'm inclined to agree, honestly. I'm inclined to agree with C. I think B is a fair spot, though, because she was in the same matchup as Becky. And performance-wise, I mean, Charlotte... Okay, let me get something straight here. There's a lot of criticism towards Charlotte Flair. I don't think it's because of her work ethic. I don't think it's because of who she is. I think it's because of the way she's presented on TV. And I've seen a lot of people who try to say, oh, the hate for Charlotte's unjustified. It's like, it's not that we hate Charlotte. It's just the way she's been booked. Being overpushed. Being presented as this overpowerful wrestler that can defeat everybody. Earning wins I don't think she needed. I always go back to WrestleMania 34 against Asuka. She beat Asuka, ending the streak when she didn't need to. I feel like they did that just to kind of provide a little bit of a swerve and surprise the audience. For Charlotte, I'm going to put C. Dion says no adversity. No, literally. Literally, when was the last time we saw Charlotte go through some form of adversity? Because it's like never been the underdog. Has never been the underdog, at least not from my memory. I think what they're doing with her right now too is the best move in terms of turning her heel. That's what I would go. I personally don't think turning her baby face is the move. Yeah, she was gone for a while there. I don't know. That's just my take. That's just my personal take, though. You don't have to agree with it. I probably, prefer you don't, because it provides a little bit more of a conversation. Next up, he who shall not be named. Looking at the chat here, AJ says Charlotte 2025 is actually cool. I just need to see a little bit more. Something different. I want to see her as a heel. I love Charlotte as a heel. I think she's more suited as a heel. I don't want to see her as a babyface. Just like her dad. They're better heels. And they should stay that way. He who shall not be named. Chris Benoit. It's difficult. So he, again, another guy who's only had one main event at WrestleMania 20. For me, it's one of the greatest triple threat matches of all time. I love that matchup between he, Shawn, and Triple H. I'm not going to discredit him for what he did in terms of the real life tragedy. I'm only going to look at this from this perspective of in-ring talent. Chris Benoit delivered, in my opinion. One of the best main events of WrestleMania. We're never going to see it again. With that being said, hey, you can call it controversial. I'm going to put him in B. AJ says F. AJ says F, and I am more than okay with you saying that. You are entitled to that. Dion says B. I'm not going to take into consideration what he did outside of the ring. We all can agree what took place in 2007 was horrific. We can all agree on that. But I'm only going to take into consideration the match itself, WrestleMania 20. And I think it's one of the best main events of all time. Now, with that being said, we'll go in and we'll move on. We'll move on from that. We'll leave it at that. Next up is Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, again, another guy who's only had one main event, WrestleMania 18. Did not main event at WrestleMania after that. He had a matchup against Triple H, and it's a matchup that everyone forgets because of Rock and Hogan. I remember it because Triple H came out super tanned. Dion says, are we ranking the matches or the superstar? I'm ranking it off of their performance in the main event. So, for example, if this was as the superstar, Bret Hart is an S. Bret Hart is an S tier. But I'm going to go off of the match itself. I'm going off of their performance in the main event of WrestleMania. I look at it in the sense of Bret Hart had a great matchup against Shawn, a good matchup against Yoko once, and then the WrestleMania 9 I thought was too short to even consider. So I put him at A. AJ says F based on It would have been better in hindsight if it was just Triple H versus Shawn. The video games would be better for the 2K showcase. That's your opinion, AJ. You're more entitled to have your opinion, but I'm gonna disagree. We can agree to disagree in that regard. Chris Jericho for me against Triple H, I'm gonna put this in C. It was average. It was nothing special. That might be harsh to say, but when you have it following Rock and Hogan, I mean, dude, come on. That's a tough act to follow. And I would not blame anybody for them to forget that he was a main eventer of WrestleMania. Because it's just one of those you just don't really remember. Next up, we have Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes having main evented the last 2 WrestleManias. And keep in mind, it's actually 3 main events. Because at WrestleMania 39, he lost to Roman. At WrestleMania 40, he was in a tag team match. And on the second night, he was in the main event of WrestleMania as well. All 3 fantastic matches. All 3 a part of what is today's modern era of wrestling. One of the greatest performances, I think, of the modern era. I look at guys like Bam Bam, Big Show, Andre, Charlotte, Jericho, Chris, AJ, Becky, Bianca. All of them only have one. Brock and Brett and Batista are the only ones that have multiple main events. Cody has 3. Call me biased, but I'm going to put him at B. At the top of B. I can't put him at A because I feel like that's really recency biased. But his 3 main events have hit. Dion says Benoit was one of them. Put some respect in the ring abilities. Truly one of the very best. Not taking into account what he did outside the ring. That's the difficult part about it, is separating him from the man and the wrestler. That's why I try to be very brief and just, hey, this is what it is. This is my belief. If you don't agree, that's okay too. Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan, only main evented 1 WrestleMania. But again, it's one of the best WrestleMania moments in my opinion. That triple threat match. AJ says, dang it, R-Truth on the list. It's a shame. R-Truth should be a main eventer. R-Truth will go in the Hall of Fame, though. You better believe that. For Daniel Bryan, though, it's tough when they've only main evented once. Because you're really just going off of that one performance. And I think Bryan had an all-time performance. But I can't put him over guys. I can't put him over Cody. And I don't think I can't put him with Brett. And I feel like I'm loading up B right now. But I would not put him at C. Absolutely not. And it sucks. I think I'm going to put him at another B. And I'm going to try to step away from that. Drew McIntyre, main event of WrestleMania once at WrestleMania 36. Unfortunately, it was in front of nobody. It's one of those WrestleMania moments that we forget. He defeated Brock Lesnar, finally winning the WWE Championship. Something he hasn't had since the pandemic era. By no means is this a detriment to Drew McIntyre and his capabilities. Sanford 5 says B+ players going crazy. It's a lot of great talent in the B category. For Drew McIntyre, though, because it was in WrestleMania 36, because CM Punk not on the list, I know it's a damn shame. CM Punk should be on the list. Because it was at 36, it does hurt Drew. I'm a fan of Drew. I'm going to put him at C. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put him like right here. In no particular order, I do want to say when it comes to the tiers themselves, I'm not really ranking them within the tiers. They're just grouped up together. Next up on the list here, though, we have the Rated R Superstar Edge, or as AEW likes to refer to him, Cope. What are you guys' thoughts on Cope? Are we a fan of the name in AEW? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm so used to Edge. I'll always call him Edge. Adam Copeland was cool because it was his real name, but now he goes by Cope. And I can't get with that, truthfully. But Edge, main event of WrestleMania 24, a great matchup against The Undertaker. He would then go on to main event WrestleMania 37 in a great triple threat match against Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. As a matter of fact, I forgot to mention Daniel Bryan, did main event WrestleMania 37 in that triple threat match. 2 great triple threat match, by the way. Sanfran 5 says Edge heads all the way. I agree. AJ says Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes. Where would you put it? The thing is, though, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that's the move. I really don't. If it's a great match, I would put Cody probably up in A. And for Jey, we'll get to him. But I do want to keep in mind, this isn't a ranking of the matches. It's a ranking of the individuals. I do want to point that out. If it were to happen, cool. I mean, I'm for it. But I don't think it's the move, unfortunately. I think Jay's going to go after Gunther. And Cody, obviously, is going to face whoever wins the Elimination Chamber. I'm thinking Cena. I really do. But the Chamber's a toss-up right now. Because it could be Punk. It could be Drew. I hope it's not Logan Paul. But there is a chance that it might be. With Edge having 2 great Mania matches, WrestleMania 24, WrestleMania 37, all-timers, solidifying himself as one of the greatest of all time to do it. You guys are going to hate me. You're going to hate me. I can't put him over Bryan or Cody. I just can't. In terms of the matches, in terms of the quality, and I really am getting sick of this beat here because I'm putting too many, but that's just how I feel. Hulk Hogan. You guys already know how I feel about Hogan. For those of you who are familiar with the chat and are familiar with the channel, I'm not a Hogan guy. Never been a Hogan guy. Never will be a Hogan guy. But with that being said, we have to acknowledge what he has done for WrestleMania. He main evented the first 9 WrestleManias. WrestleMania 1, the tag match. WrestleMania 2, the cage match. WrestleMania 3, the iconic match against Andre. WrestleMania 4, he didn't main event. Fair. Too much Vicky Guerrero for my taste. That's hilarious. Hulk Hogan F. Jabroni. WrestleMania 5, he had a great match against Macho Man. WrestleMania 6 was a good match against Warrior. 7 was against Slaughter, which is, I can live without. 8, I can live without. 9 should have never happened. 9 should have never happened. The early years of Hogan. In terms of the significance, huge significance. Like I said, the first Mania, huge. WrestleMania 3, huge. 5 and 6, I'm a fan. Sanfran 5 says, best thing Hogan was in was getting dragged by Undertaker's bike. I'd have to agree. With that being said, I go off of performances. I go off of the matchup itself. And I got to tell you, I got to put Hogan at C. I know some people were saying F. AJ, I know. Dion, I know F. But I mean, I actually enjoy WrestleMania 5 and 6. That's just my personal taste. So I'll put him at C. And I also got to be at least somewhat unbiased. We know I'm not a fan of Hogan. But I mean, hey, I got to be at least somewhat unbiased. Next up on that list, for the main event of WrestleMania, we have the Usos. The Usos are going to go in unison. AJ says, you got me, brother. Call me my Bear Imp Kane. A great tag match against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I love the Usos. It's a one-time thing. I hope to see them more. As a matter of fact, hold on. We're going to drop them over here. I hope to see more of them. Dion says that's fair, Jose. I try to be fair. And it's because I don't like him. We know I don't like him. I know you guys don't like him, but I mean, come on. And, oh my God. Next up is John Cena. That's a huge one. We're going to be here for a second. WrestleMania 22. Triple H, love it. WrestleMania 23 against Shawn, even better. WrestleMania 27 against The Miz, eh. 28, love it. 29, it's okay. It's the same thing as 28. If you saw 28, you saw 29, basically. And after that, he kind of falls off. I mean, he doesn't main event WrestleMania after that. That would be his last main event of WrestleMania. But because of the 22, 23, and 28, and 29, I'll give him that. I'm going to put John at B. Or sorry, A. Excuse me. Right next to Brett. I don't think John gets enough credit. That Shawn Michaels and Triple H match, fantastic. The Rock, entertaining. 29, I don't think needed to happen, but it did. But because of those three, I'm confident in putting him at A. Kevin Owens, main evented 2 WrestleManias. Real quick, I want to see this. AJ says, I hope Jey Uso versus Roman and doesn't let Cody in and cheats to rematch clause. How so? Because Jey Uso gets a match against the champion and Roman doesn't have a title. So, unless Roman beats him in the meantime, I don't know. That's a tough one. Cena is in B. He's had good matches, but it was because who he was facing. That's an interesting take by San Fran. But I mean, it takes 2 to tango. He was entertaining, but not a wrestler like Shawn or Triple H. That's an interesting take. And I'm not mad at it. Dion agrees at A. Kevin Owens had a great match against the Usos. Had a great showing against Stone Cold Steve Austin. A fun matchup. A matchup that we never thought was going to happen. Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens. And I know I said I wouldn't do it, but I am. In no particular order, I'm putting him in B. A lot. And again, keep in mind, B meaning these are good performances. They're doing what they're supposed to do and delivering great main events. A is like you're the top of the line. And S is like GOAT status. King Kong Bundy, no disrespect. WrestleMania 2 cage match, I can live without. I can live without it. Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 19. His only main event of WrestleMania. I don't know if I can put him over. Who's going to be at S? We'll have to wait and see, right? I can't put him over because Kurt only had the one. It was a great matchup against Brock, for sure. But the other times he didn't main event. But but Kurt's talent is just, it's too much. I can't put him under Brett. Or I keep saying Brett. I can't put him under Brock. I'll put him as his equal. LT, easy. D. No disrespect to LT. One of the greatest defensive players to ever do it, but I can't put him over. We have Macho Man. Macho Man only main evented WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5. But it was a year-long story that saw the descent into Macho Madness. A great moment against Ted DiBiase and being able to lift up Miss Elizabeth. The Mega Powers explode at WrestleMania 5. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love the Macho Man's work between 88 to 89. Dion read my mind completely. It's a B. B meaning passing. C is average. B is like awesome. A, fantastic. And S, one of the best of all time. Mick Foley only had the one at WrestleMania 2000. Aside from that, didn't main event. And he was eliminated early on. Midway through the matchup. And it became Rock versus Triple H. I'll put him at C for Cactus Jack. Ted DiBiase had a great match against Macho Man. But aside from that, we only remember it because of the Macho Man. I'm putting him at D. No disrespect. D for DiBiase. The Miz, same thing. It's a forgettable one against John Cena. We only remember it because it was The Rock. It was John Cena. It set him up. I have to put him at D. Sorry, Miz. Mr. T, main evented against, Piper and Orndorff teaming. with Hogan, we're going to see a lot of D's. We're going to see a lot of D's. Same thing with Orndorff. I'm going to put him at D. Because those were just one-offs. And they weren't fantastic matches in comparison to the rest. Piper. Now here's an interesting one. Piper was only main eventing that first WrestleMania. But he did a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the character work, in terms of the wrestling. He carried a lot of the load. I would have loved to have seen Piper in other high-profile programs. Maybe even against Hogan one-on-one for the title. I would have loved to have seen that. But we didn't. I think he did a lot of the heavy lifting for the first WrestleMania. So I'll put him at C, along with Andre. Randy Orton, the Legend Killer, the Viper. Main event at WrestleMania, what was it? 30? WrestleMania 25. 25, was that hit or miss? I'm not going to lie to you. 25 wasn't the best. And again, it was suffered from The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. He said with Vlad, no, stop. Don't even bring up Vlad. Come on. Against Triple H, it wasn't the best. Unfortunately, for Randy Orton. He wouldn't main event again until WrestleMania 30 in the triple threat match. A good triple threat match. I love it. Mr. Kozlov is hilarious. And unfortunately for him, that would be the only time. Was a triple threat match. I love Randy. I'm a fan of Randy. I gotta put him at C. WrestleMania 25, not a good matchup. Not a great match. WrestleMania 30 was, but I don't think it's enough to put him over. I don't think I can put him at Big B. Again, if you're just joining us here on the live stream, this is me. My name's Jose Ramos Jr., a fan of pro wrestling, and we're ranking all of the main events of WrestleMania in terms of the individual, their performance, in terms of the match quality, what they provided in that moment, the catalog that they were able to accumulate over time. Dion says C. Dion and I are in sync right now. Roman Reigns, the OTC, the Tribal Chief. A long list of main events. Ready? WrestleMania 31. Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins with the surprise cash-in. WrestleMania 32. Kind of a clunker with Triple H. WrestleMania 33. Kind of a clunker with The Undertaker. Not off to a great start. 34 against Brock. We can live without it. And then 37. A great triple threat match. 38. It was okay. 39. Fantastic. 40. Fantastic times 2. I think for me, this is an easy A for Roman Reigns. His worst matchup in terms of the main eventing of WrestleMania against Triple H at WrestleMania 32. That was a bad one. I don't know if you guys remember it. It was a bad one. I think I've only watched it twice since it's happened. But aside from that, all the other ones have been mid to fantastic. His only bad one, I think, is 32. Dion says B and no higher, no lower. Hey, again, I'm not angry at it, but I think A. I go back to how it makes me feel. I go back to the level of excitement and the hype that I felt going in and coming out of the matchup. 37, 39, and 40. 31, all great. 33, 32, I'll give you. And then 38 is average for me. But I think for me, because of the other ones, it's enough to put him over into the A territory. Again, that's just me personally. Dion says they put a rocket on him and shot his to the moon. He is not that good. Hey, I'll give you that. Early on, absolutely. Early on, they forced it. But after the Tribal Chief stuff, come on. You can't tell me 37, 39, and 40 weren't great. 38 was mid. But aside from that, that 4-year run has been awesome. In my opinion, of course. But that's just my opinion. Ronda Rousey. Dion says WrestleMania 40 was his best. Agreed. Agreed. 39 was really good, though. Ronda Rousey, I'm going to put her right with Charlotte. For me, it's the same thing. I don't think I have to elaborate. We've already talked about it. Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn had a great tag match. I'll put him with the Usos because, again, it's the same matchup. It's the only time he's main event at WrestleMania. Keep all three Usos together. Sasha Banks. He's the only one to beat The Undertaker. I mean, Brock did too, technically. Brock did too. He's the one that beat the streak. Sasha Banks, I thought, had a great match against Bianca. It's one of my favorite women's matches of all time. I'm going to put her right next to Bianca. If I can find her. Again, that's my personal preference. It's a fantastic matchup. Seth Rollins only main evented 2. Had one of, a lot of people say it's the best cash-in of all time. I still like Edge's, but I'm not mad when people say Seth. I think it's great as well. He also main evented WrestleMania 40 in the tag team match. Both are great in terms of the memory, in terms of the moment, in terms of the execution. All are great. And for me, that's enough to put him, you guys guessed it, in the B. B is by far my favorite. When it comes to the B territory, yeah, but Brock don't count. He went too hard on him. The record books say he beat him, though, AJ. I'm afraid it's the facts. Unfortunately, the record book says he beat him. If you can see, B right here is like a real list of mine that I enjoy. Muhammad, what's going on? Appreciate you here on a Saturday night. Thank you for joining us on the live stream. Hope you're doing well as well. Sergeant Slaughter. WrestleMania in the early years had guys like King Kong Bundy, Paul Orndorff, Sergeant Slaughter, DiBiase. For me, that's all D because it only goes up from there. Shawn Michaels. We're talking WrestleMania 12, the Iron Man match. Bret Hart, 60 minutes. Sudden death. One of the best performances of all time. We go into that. WrestleMania 14. Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Austin era begins. Shawn has a great match with a broken back. I mean, well, granted, maybe not a great match. It was a good match. I don't want to over, hype that matchup. I'm not going to act like it was a 5-star. But it did its job. It's memorable. It's fun. I can revisit it. WrestleMania 14. Doesn't get back to the main event of WrestleMania until WrestleMania 20 in the triple threat match that, again, I thought was one of the best triple threats of all time. I look at it and I think, wow, that's already 3. 12, 18, and 20. Then he gets to 23 and has one of the best matches in John Cena's career at WrestleMania 23. Love it. He doesn't main event again until WrestleMania 26 against The Undertaker in one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. Now, I know WrestleMania 25 is considered the best, but 26 is just as good in my opinion. Dion says S. It wasn't as good of a matchup, but he was hurt, and that's what I mean. It was a good matchup. It was an average matchup, but you have to take into consideration the physical state that he was in. Imagine Shawn being at 100%. Shawn, as we had asked at the beginning of it, who would be the S? Shawn is S tier. Never had a bad main event of WrestleMania. You can argue his worst. The worst one is WrestleMania 14. You can argue that. But again, to Dion's point, he was hurt. And it wasn't even bad. It was good. But for a guy like Shawn Michaels, good isn't good enough. Shawn's an S. An easy S. Muhammad says, first time going live on a Saturday night. We were actually live last week. Following the Royal Rumble event. It was a great showing. I think it was our best live stream to date. A lot of participation, a lot of lively conversation following last Saturday's Royal Rumble. So it's not our first time going Saturday, but it's a rarity, I will say, because of obviously Sunday's Super Bowl. And obviously, unfortunately, I'm working that day. So I didn't want to commit to that with it being a little bit of a conflict of interest. So we went for Saturday. His worst was being mad at John Cena. Sid. Sid had 2 WrestleMania main events. WrestleMania 8 against Hogan and WrestleMania 13 against Taker. Sorry, Sid. I'm sorry. But I'm going to have to put you at D. 50% of Sean's is better than 100% of most. Dion speaking facts. And I want to say something real quick, Dion. I appreciate you stepping in on these live streams because you and I have a similar taste here. We have similar takes. The only other one that has similar takes to me is probably San Fran 5. So you and I we're in sync right now. AJ, I appreciate the input as well. Thank you, of course, for voicing your opinion and talking about the wrestling with us. Muhammad, as well, thank you. Shout out to Sylvia as well, who was here earlier in the chat, and Peter Parker. Stone Cold Steve Austin's next. Stone Cold Steve Austin. WrestleMania 14, we talked about it. It's a good matchup. WrestleMania 15 against The Rock, solid matchup. Love the brawl. WrestleMania 17, one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, against The Rock. Wouldn't main event again until WrestleMania 38, and a pretty damn good match against Kevin Owens. Stone Cold Steve Austin, and even if you don't take it into consideration, those are his main events. Those are his main events. But I also just want to throw in a little bit of extra, facts. WrestleMania 13's matchup with Brett, iconic. WrestleMania 19 against The Rock, iconic. But we're just talking main events. And I think it's enough to put him at S. I would like to know what you guys think in the chat. Because I think 14 and 15 are better than good. They're exceptional. 17, iconic. 38, it was a great one, I thought. Given his time away from the ring, being gone for like 20 years. Dion says A. I'm not mad at that. But I think S. AJ says he should have never been... he should have never been pile driven. Yeah, it was a botch. It's crazy to think that Austin at the top was only for, 6 years? 96 to 2002, give or take a couple months because they went into 03. So a little over 6 years in the WWE? It's a shame. Could have had so many great matches with him. Speaking of great matches, we have The Rock. The Rock, we talked about the WrestleMania trilogy with Stone Cold. Had a great matchup at so WrestleMania 15, solid. 16, it's okay. It got good when it was just him and Hunter. 17, great. WrestleMania 28 would be the next one he main evented, which I thought was good. I enjoyed it. 29, it's good. Same thing as 28, essentially. And then after that, we wouldn't see him again until WrestleMania 40 in that tag team match. I think I'm going to put him at A. He's had great matches. Star power. He's able to achieve that goal of delivering a great performance at WrestleMania. And keep in mind, at WrestleMania 29, he suffered an injury as well. AJ says Rock versus Austin is the most recognizable to everybody. It is. It's true star power. Most recognizable in the world. Couldn't agree more. AJ. Next up, we have Triple H. Triple H is an interesting one because this guy has made him in a lot of WrestleManias, and some people are not fans. Dion says, Jose, next video, do a blind ranking. How so? Because I've done like the TikTok filter blind rankings. Or you know what we could do? I think maybe this isn't what you had in mind, Dion. And I would love to have your take on this. But I could do a chat. I could do a stream where members in the chat are throwing in wrestler names. For example, let's say you throw in AJ Styles. One guy throws in Warrior. Another guy throws in Hunter. And I'm just going to do a live ranking right then and there, as you guys are telling me. As you guys are the ones providing the names. I don't know if that's what you had in mind for the blind ranking, but I think that'd be a great opportunity to include you guys. Have you guys have that power of saying, okay, we're going to include this guy. What do you think? and then I'll just rank them from there. Triple H though, main event of WrestleMania 2000. It was good. It was okay. Wouldn't main event until WrestleMania 18. Not the best. Not the best. 20 was good. 21, it was good. 22, I really enjoyed it. Wouldn't main event again until WrestleMania 25, and that was, the Randy match I can live without. Then he wouldn't main event against until WrestleMania 32. You know what? I'm going to pick AJ. Or keep 3, delete 3. That's interesting. Keep 3, delete 3. Oh, that'd be interesting. But I kind of want to leave you guys to do that. You guys throw them at me. Because I can't just sit here and be like, oh, I'm going to name 6 guys, and it's like me choosing specifically. No. It'd be cool if you guys brought them up, and I'll tell you my take. Triple H, though, like I said, he's had a lot of average main events. He's had some great ones. Being 22, 20, 21. But matches like 18, 25, 32, they really hold him back. He's great at storytelling, but in terms of main eventing WrestleMania, I'm going to put him with Randy. Or really with Batista. All members of Evolution are kind of linked up together. Dion says, let's do it. I'm down. Ultimate Warrior. So with Ultimate Warrior, he had the one against Hulk Hogan. It was probably his best match, being the Warrior. Dion says Triple H B, I feel. I mean, I could see that. I can see that. But I'm going to put him at C. I just feel like it's a lot more mid than great. Warrior, though, I'm going to put next to Hogan. I'm comfortable doing that. It was the one great match of his career. It was a great moment for Warrior, but I mean, I think so. I'm going to do Yoko. I'm going to skip over Taker for now. Yoko had the 2 against Brett, and I'm going to put him at C. Yoko's great for his size, but I can't put him over MB. Now, The Undertaker. This is the guy that I might have to take the longest on. He's main event of WrestleMania 13. In an average matchup with Psycho Sid, it gets overshadowed because of WrestleMania 13. That being, of course, Brett versus Stone Cold. He wouldn't main event another WrestleMania until WrestleMania 24, where he faced off Edge. In a great match, by the way. Love that matchup. I think it's one of Edge's best. I think it's one of Taker's best of the era. Then he would have 26 against Shawn in what I think is one of, if not the greatest main events ever. That immediately propels him, I think at least, into B. Because 24 and 26 are so OP. 13's holding him back. We keep moving forward. He didn't main event again until WrestleMania 33. That much was But then 36 was great. I don't know if I could put him in S. It's tough. If Taker, if this list was basically solely on matches, I can put him at A. Dion's saying my Mount Rushmore is looking pretty good. Yeah. No, it really is. Because what was it? Correct me if I'm wrong here. Taker, Shawn, Austin, Cena. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was the Mount Rushmore. Taker, Shawn, Austin, Cena. I believe, Dion. I don't know if I'm going to put him... B is like the minimum. I don't know if I can put him in S. 13 was... I'm not a big fan of 13. I love 24. I love 26. Big fan of 36. And then there's 33, which was, not his best performance. I'm going to put him at A. I can't put it because of the performance with Roman and Sid. Those are tough for me. I can put him like at the top of A, like right with Brett, borderline S. But it's just because I look at Austin and Michaels never had a bad main event at WrestleMania. Their worst matches were like mid. Is Shawn in S because of Taker? If you take away the Taker matches, from Shawn, a great Iron Man matchup against, yes sir, okay, I was right, Dion, right on. If you take away the Taker matches, Shawn had a great Iron Man matchup against Brett. He had a solid match against Austin. He then proceeds to have another great triple threat match. He then has a great match against Cena at 23. That's all without Taker. But because of the Taker matches, it solidifies him in S. I think he's already in consideration for the S. For me, it's like one of those deals where it's like, okay, I can see him as S, but with the Taker, it solidifies him. I think he's an S with or without. But with the Taker matches, you can't deny it. I just don't think you can deny it. With Taker, unfortunately, the Sid and Roman matches devalue it. I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think about the tier ranking? Who do I have low? Who do I have high? I feel like B really got overloaded there. Aside from that, I like S. I like A. D, I would not change. C, I could see guys like Randy and Triple H move up. I could definitely see that. And I think that's about it. I wouldn't really change that much. The ones I'm looking at right now, if I had to move guys up, I wouldn't move A. I like A. But I look at B and I'm like, in recent years, I feel like Cody could go up if he has another great main event. Cody can move up a spot if he has a great main event. Kevin could probably move up one more if he has a great main event. Bianca, I think, is definitely going to have another main event. I don't know if it's going to be within the next couple years, but I think Bianca gets another main event of WrestleMania. I really do. I feel like the S is the best of all time. And made for sure one. That's perfect. Perfect tier list. I appreciate that. And only made for sure. Like I said, this was like a cold. This was a cold ranking. I don't want to go ahead and like do a ranking ahead of time and have it already in my mind. Like, oh, I'm going to put this guy here and then put this here. This was like not planned. I don't want you guys thinking like, oh, he already knew he was going to put Shawn there. Again, this is how I feel in the moment. Maybe a year from now, maybe it changes. Maybe I decide to move a guy up or down. Dion says looks pretty accurate. I appreciate that. Because again, for those of you who are just joining us in the chat, I just want to preface this is a tier ranking in terms of the WrestleMania performances in the main event. So I'm not taking into consideration every WrestleMania matchup. If this was every WrestleMania matchup, Taker probably would be an S. Because he had so many great matches. He probably would be an S. Brett would probably be an S. But it's only the main events. Only the main events. That's why you see a guy like Randy Orton, Triple H in C. Those guys are the greatest of all time. Universally praised as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But their main event matches, I don't think really delivered what we would hope. Again, in the chat, you guys go ahead and voice your opinion. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm getting some people who are agreeing with it. I appreciate that. We're like-minded in that respect. I see someone here. I see AJ says best when someone is on the spot and not scripted. I agree. It becomes more natural. And it opens that opportunity for discussion. Because there were sometimes you guys were talking about it and like, hey, I think it's this one. I'm like, well, I'm inclined to agree. Dion says, if you take into account moments, some could be higher. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dion is right on it. If we took into consideration for moments, like I'm looking at a guy like Triple H, definitely would go up higher. if it wasn't for moments. If we're talking about Hulk Hogan, I think you can argue goes higher because of moments. Mick Foley goes higher because of moments. Kurt Angle would go higher because of moments. Seth Rollins, like a lot of these guys would probably all be up one more. Taker, Brett, John, Rock, Roman, probably all would have jumped up to S if we're going off of moments. So yeah, you are not wrong at all. It just says, that's why I like your thinking. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll go ahead and, if you guys are interested in it, I'll go ahead and drop the link of this tier ranking in the description. That way, hey, if you want to, if you feel ever so inclined to make your own tier ranking, I'll drop it in the description. And hey, take a screenshot. You know, tag me on Twitter or X, whatever it is you want to call it. Tag me there. You can follow me there, of course, at JAreaPod_. That's at JAreaPod_. Tag me in there if you ever feel so inclined. But I'll drop in the description a link to the ranking, and you can go from there. I enjoy this website. You know, they have great opportunities there to rank your own topics, not just pro wrestling, but I've seen stuff for other sports, for movies, even for video games, for our video game players. Very extensive library of content to rank. And they're fun. I mean, it's cool to see what people have in what position. I think. That's just my opinion. I'm going to take a quick break here. You're going to see me step away here. Because I'm going to try to fix on this camera. I'm going to fix this camera here. We're back here. What's up, Gabs? Appreciate you stopping by on the live stream here. Gabs says, sorry, I'm too late tonight. What I miss? Hey, it's all good. You know, you're here. That's what it counts now. Appreciate Gabs for stopping by. Dion says, yeet. We're just doing a ranking of the main eventers of WrestleMania history. You see a lot of times on this channel, on the live stream, we do a lot of discussions, and I very much value those. I appreciate those. It's a great way to connect with you guys and get to know who you enjoy as pro wrestling fans. But I want to do something different. You know, just do a little bit of a ranking here. Gab's using the CM Punk emoji, one of my favorite ones of the chat. But we have our tier rankings here. And for those of our friends who are just joining us on the live stream, my name is Ramos Jr. I'm a fan of pro wrestling. And we're doing a tier ranking of the main eventers of WrestleMania history. D, of course, being, you know what, you main event of WrestleMania, that's great. I'm happy for you. Basically a participation award. C is average. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. It was solid. B, meaning you did do part. You overperformed. It was a great main event. Awesome. A tier, meaning the cream of the crop. One of the best to ever do it. Delivered multiple great main events. And S tier, we're talking the best. Never had a bad main event. Never had a bad matchup at WrestleMania. In terms of the main event, I do want to preface this. This is not a ranking of their WrestleMania matches. This is only their performances in the main event. only their performances. So for a guy like The Undertaker, if this was his all-time matches at WrestleMania, would have been an S. Would have been an S. But this is strictly just the main event. So for The Undertaker, this is taken into account his match against Sid in 97. It's taken into account his matchup against... Shout out to Gabs there. Member for a month. That's awesome. I love the little highlight there in the chat. Gabs has been a member of the Main Event Mafia. Big shout out to Gabs for a month now. We have a few. We have a few members of the Main Event Mafia who have just hit the 1 month mark. Obviously, if you're new to the channel, you, upon becoming a member of the Main Event Mafia and joining the membership, you have a nice little unique badge next to your name. A lot of times on other YouTube channels, it's like a star, like a colorful star. But on this channel, it's a championship title. So if you're new to the membership, you're going to have the NXT championship, the designated championship for those who are trying to get called up. Upon 1 month, you get the Cruiserweight title. That's that championship you see with Gabs' name right there, the Cruiserweight championship. Of course, San Fran 5 also has that Cruiserweight championship alongside their name. And upon that, you will begin to move up the rankings. The longer you're a member, we have other championships like the United States Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, the Big Gold, the World Championship, the WWE Championship, and finally, the big badge, the one that everyone's striving for, the Hall of Fame badge. The Hall of Fame badge is there as well. Mama Ramos in the chat as well. Says, me too. That's right, 1 month. Big highlights to our diehard supporters here. Can't say how much I love and appreciate you all. Thank you so much for the support. 1 month as members. And again, they get the beautiful Cruiserweight Championship. The same title held by the likes of Rey Mysterio. Held that championship on several occasions. One of the greatest of all time to do so. That's awesome. That's awesome. That really warms my heart. It's great to see. I see the hearts in the chat as well. Nothing but love. Nothing but love from my end to you guys. I mean, thank you so much. This was awesome. I love doing these tier rankings. If you guys enjoy, I'm not closing yet. Not closing yet. But if you guys enjoy these tier rankings, make sure you like the video. That way we know, hey, this is something you're interested in. I like doing the live rankings with you guys because it allows for a more engaging feel. I see here Dion says, Jose, 10 superstars released when SmackDown aired. Touch on that for a bit for me. What's your likes and dislikes? Did they hit it on the head or what? So yeah, I had released, it's funny enough you mentioned that, Dion. And it's a great segue there. I had released, I make it sound like it's a movie. I uploaded a video earlier today talking about some of those releases. It was like midnight last night, my time, where I briefly talked about the releases of like Blair Davenport, AOP, Sonya Deville, Cedric Alexander. And I had that video already set and uploaded it in the morning about 10:11 my time, 10:11 a.m. And then more names got released. You know, who else was it that got released? Oh, the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Giovanni Vinci had gotten release. It's a shame to see some of these names get released, but I honestly think it's probably for the best. The WWE right now has an influx of talent coming from around the world. I mean, we've seen individuals like Penta, Stephanie Vaquer, Jacob Fatu, the Tongans. I mean, like, they've had a lot of talent come in. So unfortunately, there's not going to be a lot of TV time for these superstars. I look at people like a Giovanni Vinci and a Blair Davenport and a Sonya Deville, who didn't get really a lot of opportunity on TV. We rarely ever saw Blair Davenport. The only time we saw Vinci was that squash match against like Apollo Crews. And then Sonya Deville, I mean, was a part of the PFC. And it wasn't really anything special there. Didn't do something of substance since like the pandemic era with her feud with Mandy Rose. So I think it's probably for the best. I think having these men and women move on from the WWE. It gives them an opportunity to expand their horizons, get a little bit of momentum elsewhere, build their name and equity back up in places like TNA. I think we're going to see Sonya Deville and Blair Davenport in Total Nonstop Action. I have no doubt in my mind that either one or both will end up in there. And I think it's going to benefit the Knockouts division. Because losing Jordan Grace and Trinity, a.k.a. Naomi, in the last year, that's a big blow to them. They got to revamp that division. Masha Slamovich needs more bodies to, fend off. Same thing with like the Good Brothers. They're going to find some spots. I think they're going to go to AEW. They have connections with the Bucks and Kenny. They'll be just fine. As for Vinci, I don't know where he's going to end up. He's the one I feel bad for, though, because they didn't have to break up Imperium. But they did. And they didn't do anything with Vinci. But like I said, I think it's going to be for the best that these men and women move on, have opportunities elsewhere. That way they're not left not doing anything in WWE. Because one thing people like to, criticize Triple H for is like fumbling someone like Giovanni Vinci or not utilizing someone like a Blair Davenport. That's fine. That's your opinion. That's your critique. You're entitled to that. But the bare minimum, at least he's not holding them to a contract and not allowing them to perform. It's not like he's going to put on another level of years or months on that contract that would not allow them to leave. He's going to let them go, wait out their 90 days, and they can go elsewhere and continue their career. That's just my 2 cents, personally. Dion says, I believe they're going to bring NXT superstars, and that's why. I think you're right. It's around this time. I've always said it's like a spring cleaning. They're going to move away from these superstars, and we're going to probably see people like Roxanne Perez on WWE TV more likely. She's already having a match against Raquel Rodriguez for an Elimination Chamber qualifier. I think Trick Williams is going to get called up. I think Tony D'Angelo is going to get called up. I wouldn't be surprised if those guys get called up. They got to make room. So I agree with that sentiment, Dion. Dion also says, on a side note, Zoe Starks and Shayna can really go. I like them, man. The women's division is stacked. They just need to fit them in the right program and stop having the same feuds for like a year. The women's division is the deepest it has been ever. And they have multiple championships. They have a world title, tag titles, and now the mid-card titles on both Raw and SmackDown. They have the talent. They have the talent. It's like you said, just finding a way to carve out that spot for everyone in the division, making sure everyone has some level of significance in their programs. Don't have people just doing things just to kill time on TV. Have it mean something. Why should I be invested? Why should I care that Zelina Vega broke away from the LWO and is now going after the U.S. Championship? I should care. I do care. I'm a fan of Zelina Vega. But for everybody else, they should care that Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter are now on SmackDown fighting for the tag titles. They should care. They have all the talent in the world. And especially when you look at women like Kaylani, Jordan, Stephanie, Julia, Sol Ruka, Zarya, all waiting in NXT. They're going to get called up. The women's division is stacked. But I do agree, Zoe Stark can go. Shayna Baszler, the fall off is crazy. When she was back in NXT, the Queen of Spades, the NXT champion, fantastic run. I wanted her to succeed on the main roster because she was a great heel. But the steam has been lost. The momentum's not there anymore. I'm hoping something changes. But we'll see. I'm so tired of Cody versus Solo. It's been done. I agree. I think they're just going to close out the trilogy. That's probably going to be the matchup for Elimination Chamber. I'm not with it. I'm with you. Like, I'm not with the program, but I'm with you in terms of I'm done with it. Cody, I love Cody. That's my guy. But he's already beaten Solo. We don't need it again. Hopefully it's just a title matchup on SmackDown, and we can just keep it moving. Honestly. Sanford 5 says, I like red velvet cake. I do too. That's why I ate it. He brought red velvet cake one day and I ate it. But it's delicious. I'm sorry. You didn't eat it, man. I'm sorry. WWE needs to bring back Titantron videos and also Jim Johnston. Man, my brother, Sanfran5, and I always talk about Jim Johnston. He should be on the Hall of Fame. He developed so many of the greatest wrestling theme songs of all time. Titantron should come back. But the thing is, though, with the way Def Rebel produces their music, we can never tell who's who. So we need the names on the screen. But if we had distinguishable music, then the Titantron should come back. But I think the band, and I might have the letters out of order, but CFOS or CFSO, I don't remember specifically what their name was. But the band that was in charge of NXT Black and Gold and came up with theme songs like Champa, Aleister Black, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Bayley's theme song. Like that era of 2014 to 2018, they also came up with Bobby Roode. That 4-year span, they had some of the greatest theme songs in the modern era for NXT. Distinguishable music that immediately you heard the first note and you knew who it was. And I miss that so much. So hopefully with Def Rebel now looking to be on the outs, we can get them back in. Because Triple H worked closely with them in NXT. So who's to say he doesn't bring them back for the main roster? I hope so. I really do. It's crazy. Only Logan Paul has a Titantron video. Did you notice that? I did not. I did not because I'm just trained to the thought that no one has a Titantron anymore. It's always just names. But I mean, with Logan Paul, it makes sense. I mean, he's a social media star. I'm sure he has a say in it as well. But yeah, no, it's a shame. Bring back the Titantrons. But also keep in mind, it's like the screens. They don't really have screens anymore. It's like all LED. So naturally, it's like the branding. It's the name and the logo. It's not the same. But these are great points by Dion here. Elimination Chamber coming up March 1st. We already have a couple of qualifying members of each matchup. The men's is looking good. The men's chamber, Punk, Cena, McIntyre. I think we can all agree Logan Paul's going to be in it. I think he's going to beat Ray. But Punk, Cena, McIntyre, loaded already. Loaded. The women's have like Liv Morgan. She's in it. Bianca's in it. And Alexa Bliss. Both chambers are looking really nice. Both chambers are looking really good. I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be March 1st. Toronto, Canada, another great crowd. We're looking forward to it. We'll probably have another live stream following that show like how we did for the Rumble. Because with WrestleMania just weeks away, you know it's going to be big. Dion says Seth is going to win his match. Who's Seth facing for the qualifier? I don't remember who Seth is facing. I know next week Damian Priest has Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu in a triple threat. I think Damian wins that match. I think he pins Braun. And I think they protect Jacob. But whoever Seth is facing, yeah, I'm sure he'll get in the chamber as well. I don't remember who he's facing. I don't know if have they announced the qualifier for Seth? But regardless, I agree. I think Seth is going to be in the chamber. And that's going to be huge. I mean, Punk, Cena, probably Logan Paul. You also have McIntyre. And Seth, who's the sixth? Damian. That's a loaded chamber. Sanford 5 says, Rights to Censor had the best Titantron classic. You know who I think had a really good Titantron? Taz. I was a fan of Taz's, where it was like the multiple Taz just walking in front of the other, like a never-ending conveyor belt of Taz's. I really liked Taz's Titantron back in the day. Ray's was good. Ray's early Titantron, where you saw a lot of the masks. Dion said, I think CM Punk's favor comes in an Elimination Chamber, and Seth announces he has a qualifying match. You are correct. He did. He did during that promo last week. I was just wondering, I don't remember if they announced who he was going to face. But he did announce he had a qualifier. Billy Kidman. Billy Kidman had a great Titantron and a great theme song as well. Like, no disrespect to Billy. Billy Kidman also a former cruiserweight champion, the very same cruiserweight championship that you see behind San Fran 5, Gabs, and Mama Ramos. It's Taz. I think CM Punk's favor comes in Elimination Chamber. I don't know. What is the favor? The way the Royal Rumble ended, it leads me to believe that Punk, Reigns, and Rollins are not finished with one another. That they're all going to have some kind of beef. Are they going to have a triple threat at Mania? Maybe, but it's like, I kind of want to see a one-on-one matchup between Roman and Punk or Roman and Seth. Those are two very compelling stories that I want to see. Making it a triple threat match, I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, like, they can. Obviously, they can do it. But I just feel like it's more beneficial if it's a one-on-one contest. So I think Cena wins the Chamber. Here's my line of thinking. The six participants are going to be Cena, Punk, McIntyre, Logan Paul, Seth, Damian. That's the six. Cena wins, gets a match against Cody. I think that's what's going to be. And then Seth and Punk have their issues. Roman has his issues. That's a triple threat. Drew and Damian. Keep in mind, Damian threw out McIntyre. You know, he eliminated him in the Rumble. McIntyre's now on SmackDown. I don't know who eliminates who. Maybe McIntyre eliminates Damian. So now it's one-on-one. And at WrestleMania, I think it's Damian versus Drew. So that leaves Logan Paul. Who is he going to be facing? But I think that's how we're going to be shaping up the Chamber into Mania. Dion says it might be a triple threat match. I think it will be. Honestly. I don't know how I feel about it, but as long as it's good. But what if Cena doesn't win? Man, if he doesn't win. So, I think everybody is inclined to believe that Cena's going to have a title matchup, whether it's against Gunther or Cody. I think he's in there. He's going to have a title matchup. If he doesn't, though, if you guys remember at the Royal Rumble, Jacob Fatu got eliminated. John Cena then entered the matchup at number 23. Shout out to Jordan. And as he's running into the ring, the camera looked over at Jacob. And I thought it was kind of weird the way they formatted that. It would have been different. It was Roman and Jacob. But it was Cena's entrance. And then we look at Jacob as he's watching Cena enter. Don't quote me. But maybe there's a possibility of Jacob versus Cena. But if they do Jacob versus Cena, Jacob goes over and Cena loses his last matchup? I don't know. Cena versus Logan Paul? At WrestleMania, they're in the Chamber. They have a beef there. Logan Paul and Jacob might be a possibility, but I think he wins. I really do. I think he wins the Chamber, but he loses at Mania. The camera angle pointed at Jacob twice. See what I mean? Like it was obviously deliberate. It was obviously deliberate. They wanted us to focus on Jacob. If Cena doesn't face Cody or Gunther, if he doesn't fight for a title, maybe it's just highlighting a future feud with Jacob. Maybe not at WrestleMania. Maybe during the summer. But if there's one thing you can quote me on, Cena will be facing Jacob Fatu at some point during the year. Whether it's at Mania or not, that match will happen. Because it just seemed too deliberate. It seemed too deliberate for me. But it's just an observation. It's just something to point out. And if it doesn't, if it's not Cena, then who do you think wins? Drop in the chat who you think is going to win the Chamber for the men and the women. Because I'm thinking it's going to be Cena for the men. And for the women, I know Io lost. But the way she interacted with Rhea, And the way her match ended, I think Io gets a second chance. She enters the chamber. I think Io wins. And I think Io faces Ripley at Mania. So I think Io wins the women's, and I think Cena wins the men's. Jacob versus Solo. And brings up how Solo lost, and that comes with consequences. How Solo turned on Jimmy. That's poetic. That's poetry. Because after WrestleMania last year, Solo agreed. Losing has consequences. That led to him betraying Roman. That led to him attacking Jimmy. So yeah, it would make sense for Jacob to turn on Solo. But does that make Solo a babyface? Or does that make Jacob the babyface? I think by default, it might turn Jacob babyface. Or what if we're all wrong? What if Solo is the babyface? And Solo has to join back up with the Usos and Roman. And that's when Hikuleo comes into play. That's when Lance and Hawaii comes into play. Jacob has his own group with the Tongans, Hikuleo, and Lance and Hawaii. Maybe Zilla fought too at some point. Maybe we get a third iteration of the bloodline. But I do think Jacob and Solo happens at one point. I don't know if that's Mania. I don't know if it's Mania. It could be. It could be. I don't know. Because if Cena does end up fighting for the title, who is Jacob fighting? You would think Roman, but Roman right now is with Punk and Seth. That leaves Jacob open, and Solo might be your guy. Dion says Hikuleo, Zilla, and Lance. Well, yeah, because if we're going off of the numbers, as I mentioned, we're talking Jacob, both Tongans, Hikuleo, Zilla, and Lance. That's 6. That's 6. So then if we go Roman, both Usos, Solo, and Sammy, they're missing 1. I don't think it's Punk again. Dion says, you're cooking, my boy. I love it. I think that's what happens. Because we've been wondering, when is Lance and Hikuleo coming into play? Hikuleo's not going to turn on the Gorillas of Destiny. He's not going to turn on Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. They're going to side. So I think Zilla is going to join alongside with Lance and Hikuleo. I think they're going to go with Jacob's bloodline and face off the OG bloodline again. That could be in the cards. I don't think it's going to be WrestleMania. I think it's too soon of a turnaround. The Rock. So what if... okay. Because The Rock, I think, goes with Jacob. Because the ultimate end, the end game is Rock Roman. So if you throw The Rock over at Jacob's group, someone has to go over them. Like Lance, would Lance and Hawaii be the one? I don't know. They do have a huge family though. But I don't even think The Rock gets involved in terms of the match. Maybe ringside. Maybe like how Paul Heyman is for the Bloodline. And then that leads into Rock Roman. There's so many possibilities. There's so many possibilities when it comes to that damn storyline. It's been going on for years and it's still compelling. But I think that's the move. Having Jacob create his own. And who else joins? It's just a matter of who's siding where. Because I could see a world where Solo goes back to Roman and his brothers. Zilla would be the face, I think. I mean, maybe it would counteract because Zilla fought 2 versus Jacob. I feel like those two are kind of made from the same cloth. Granted, they both have the same last name, fought 2. But that face-off between Zilla and Jacob would be fire. So, maybe that Zilla's the one over here with the OG bloodline. It's fantastic stuff, though. I've always wanted to see some of the women, though, interact. Because we know Naomi's married to Jimmy. Nia Jax is basically a member of the bloodline. And we don't really get interaction from them. Dion says he always speaks on if and when he goes to the WWE. He says he wants to side with Roman. That is true. But it's just a matter of like he wants to versus what are they gonna have him do? Because Punk wants to main event WrestleMania, and that man has not main evented yet. But Zilla Fatu would be a sight. Like if we love Jacob, and to see Zilla too, Jesus, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I don't think but like, because Solo had to start in NXT. Does Zilla start in NXT? Hikuleo, I don't think he does. I think he just goes right with the Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. But I could see Zilla just popping right on the main roster. All of them for that matter. Just for the sake of the story. And even then, like, if they're not in NXT, they're going to be surrounded by a wealth of knowledge. Tamina, I also forgot Tamina. Good call. But they're surrounded by a wealth of knowledge. I mean, Roman, Heyman, the Usos, even Sammy, The Rock. A lot of knowledge to be passed around there. It really is ridiculous. Great point there. We really just brainstormed another year's worth of storyline for the Bloodline, because that could feed into WrestleMania 42. Will it happen? Hey, maybe. Maybe. I wouldn't put it past them, because it makes logical sense. And in today's WWE, logic takes precedent. Logic takes precedent. So why wouldn't it? You know? Here, we're going to do a little bit of a reset here on a Saturday night. A Saturday night stream or a Sunday morning, depending where you are in the world at this moment. My name's Jose Ramos Jr. We just did a tier ranking in terms of the main eventers of WrestleMania history. Again, this is solely based on their main event performances at WrestleMania, not the entirety of their career. It's not a GOAT list, because if it was a GOAT list, it might be all over the place. But the fact is, it is a tier ranking for those who had participated in main events of WrestleMania. Some are higher, some are lower. But I'd love to hear from you guys in terms of where you would rank certain individuals. Did I put some too high? Did I put some too low? At the end of this, I'm going to go ahead and put in the description a link to the website, to this specific tier. That way, if you're interested in, you can make your own. You can share it with me on Twitter at @JAreaPod_. You can tag me in that. I'd love to see your guys' take on it as well. But a good stream tonight. We had a lot of participation here from our friends Dion, AJ, Gabs, Sanfran 5, Mama Ramos, Sylvia was also here, Peter Parker. Big Neff Network also came in with the cameo as well, so we appreciate all the people that come in, of course. And a big shout out, of course, to our main event Mafia members, Sanfran 5, Gabs, Sylvia, and Mama Ramos, all showing off their beautiful title belts, the Cruiserweight Championships, just the second step in being a member here in the Main Event Mafia, with the ultimate goal being the Hall of Fame badge. So appreciate that as always. If you're interested in having your own title next to your username, you can go ahead and join the Main Event Mafia in the link in the description, as well as in the About Me page for the channel. You get opportunities to see exclusive videos and videos earlier than anybody else, as well as exclusive I lost my train of thought there. As well as exclusive posts as well. I see that Dion says, well, say you should do a conspiracy theory video, WWE version. So Dion, we've been doing the Thursday live streams, is where I put up a list of different topics that we're going to discuss every Thursday. So for example, tomorrow we're going to have another poll up. So make sure you place your vote for what topic you want to be discussed on Thursday's live stream. We have some dark side episodes that we discuss, but in terms of conspiracy theories, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I can put that in. What if Stephanie McMahon never heard Cena rapping on the bus? He was on his way out of the door. Oh, so like what if scenarios? Because we could do conspiracy theories, but a what if scenario would be interesting as well. Yeah. Yeah, no, those are good ideas. I'll make sure to include those in the poll. And if it's something you guys are interested in, hey, go ahead and drop a vote in the chat. Or in the poll, I should say. Because voting doesn't hurt. Like I said, there's 4 options every Sunday. That way we can prepare for Thursday's live stream. Make sure you drop your vote. Let your voices be heard as to what you want to be discussing on a Thursday live stream. Dion's already dropping some great ideas in terms of conspiracy theories and what if theories. So I'm more than game for that. I'm more than game for that. And that's why I love these live streams, because it gives us an opportunity to brainstorm. I love the feedback. Good, bad, or indifferent. I love to hear the feedback from you guys, because it lets me know what we're doing right and what we could be doing better. Because this channel, as much as it has been a love letter to pro wrestling, the sole purpose is to create a community of wrestling fans that we can all just discuss, hang out, and just have a good time, man. And we've done that so far. We've been able to invite many different people of different backgrounds, of different ages, of different demographics. And that's something I think everybody should be proud of. Everyone's been super cool. Everyone's been real welcoming in the chat, on the channel. That's something that I do not take for granted. You guys are the best. You guys make me want to become better and to consistently come in and essentially go to work and be able to share my thoughts, my opinions, my ideas with you guys. And just know that whatever ideas you guys have, I will always take into consideration, because at the end of the day, this is very much your channel as much as it is mine. So I appreciate that as well. With that being said, I can't thank you guys enough for consistently showing up and always demonstrating that level of intrigue and interest in what we do here. Because if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be doing it as much as we would. But at this point of the stream, we leave it up to you. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, I'll always say a la Cody Rhodes, what do you guys want to talk about? Because we're going to begin winding down on the stream here. Unless there's something specific, any questions, any comments that you'd like to be thrown my way, or just towards the chat. Dion says, I can't wait for Ilya Dragunov. It's been too long. You know, the injury he sustained over the summer, I believe. And he's been training rigorously. I mean, if you guys have seen the videos of Ilya Dragunov training online, this guy is a beast. Does not take it as a game. I think he's the next IC champion. I think he's a future champion for sure. Him winning the IC championship is just going to be one great moment. I don't know if it's against Braun Breaker, but I do think he eventually wins some kind of gold. And I kind of want to see him against Gunther for that world title. They had great matches in NXT for the UK title. Ilya Dragunov's a beast. And hopefully, I think he'll probably be back by after Mania. Like, we're thinking maybe the Raw after Mania is something that's a real possibility for Dragunov. If he's able to rehab and train the way we know he can, he'll be back sooner than later, for sure. But that's a great pick. Dragunov's a machine. Just when he was picking up momentum, too, he got injured. So hopefully, upon returning, it'll be like he never left, hopefully. That's my hope. But Dragunov's awesome. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 41. Last man standing. I'm all for it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. You know, I really wish it would, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be Roman involved. Or we get that, and Roman faces like Jacob, but then where does that leave Solo? It's tough. This year's WrestleMania is really difficult to call. You know, a lot of times we think we have an idea of where we're going to be going with certain storylines. But this year is like, I don't know. I just feel like it's tough to call. They can go in a lot of different directions when it comes to these stories. But Punk versus Seth, last man standing at Mania, not opposed. I'm for it. If you ask me, though, I personally would have thought that Punk would have fought Cody. Cena would have fought Gunther. That's the way I would have went. But I mean, hey, that's not the way it works. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to get something else for Punk and Seth. I think Roman gets involved somehow. But we'll go from there, right? Hopefully it's just as good of a show. Some people have been saying that WrestleMania this year isn't as hyped as the last couple of years. But there's still time. I think once we get closer to the Chamber, and then that week following the Chamber, that's when we're really going to have to kick into overdrive. And we're going to have to see something. At least I think. But what do I know? You know? We're going to go ahead and start closing down here on the stream, guys. I want to say thank you again. One last thank you to everybody who participated in the chat and continue to show up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tier ranking. If you did, make sure you like the video. Give it a thumbs up. Letting us know that, hey, this is something that you're interested in and to keep doing these live tier rankings. If I did something wrong, or maybe, hey, you like someone a little bit more or less than I did, feel free to drop it in the comments. I see them all. Good, bad, or indifferent. Go ahead and drop in the comments. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Which, I mean, hey, if you're a part of the streams, I would imagine that you're already a subscriber. But even then, share, tell your friends who are pro wrestling fans or who want to be pro wrestling fans, because it's a channel that for everybody. You know what I mean? If you're a new fan, an old fan, doesn't matter. We welcome everybody. So share with your friends. Continue to subscribe. Consider becoming a member. You know, you get exclusive content. You get a nice shiny championship alongside your username. But without that being said, much love, much appreciation to everybody. Dion, final one in the chat, says, salutations, my boy, always a pleasure. Please, the pleasure's all mine. It's always mine. Wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. Thank you so much. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, depending where you are. Enjoy Sunday. And for our friends who are football fans, enjoy the Super Bowl. I know I'm going to try. And we'll see you all again on Monday with our next live stream following Monday Night Raw. Of course, be there where we talk about what happened on Monday Night Raw and moving forward in pro wrestling. Hope to see you guys there. Appreciate you guys as always. Everyone be safe, be healthy, be cool, and we'll see you then.